So good evening and welcome to the Bellows Falls Village Trustees regular meeting. It's Tuesday, October 13th, 2020, and 6 o'clock. We're down here in the lower theater of the town hall. I'd like to call the meeting to order. And prior to going to the next item, Gaetano and I would like to introduce to everybody the new manager who will be starting on October 19th, and that is Scott Pickup. Welcome aboard, and thank you for coming in. So we wanted to make sure that everyone has seen him, and there'll be lots of opportunities starting next week to meet him as well. Okay. Approve the minutes, please, of September 22nd, 2020.
Motion to approve the minutes of September 22nd, 2020.
Now you need that. Okay. So we have a motion to approve by Stefan. I need a second.
I'll second that.
All right, thank you. Is there any discussion on the minutes?
I have just one question. On the financials for the year end, it said that the revenues were at 99% of budget and expenses were at 99% of budget. And I think it looked to me like the expenses were like at 86% of budget or something, but just wanted to.
So she's looking at the minutes right now. Okay. For the last meeting of 22nd September.
I would have to go back to those financials. I don't have them right in front of me.
What I just ask you to check the percentage of expenses for the total expenses and also the expenses for the fire department.
Sure, I'll review these minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I'll make a note. Okay, so moving on. Oh, I'm sorry. We have a motion on the floor. So all those in favor of the minutes as possibly amended, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we're good. Minutes have passed. Moving on to additions to the agenda for routine administrative matters and or pressing matters that will require ratification of a future meeting.
We have
Nothing. I do have one thing. I believe Ms. Mary Fredette, are you here? Yep, she's here. Had sent in a request for an addition to the agenda. I would like to place that. You remember getting that, Shannon? Did you remember seeing that last week? Anyway, I'd like to add Ms. Fredette to the police section at the last one. So it would be C on her comments concerning the community. Yep. So it'd be 2C. What's that? A, B. Well, we have
BC.
We have A, camera presentation, B,
Yeah.
police department updates, so you'd be C.
Yeah.
Trust us.
Okay.
Right, I did add her to the agenda.
As what item?
It's B.
Oh, all right. Well, then thank you.
I'm
My apologies. Then there was no addition to the agenda. But not seeing your name, I wasn't sure it was added. Okay. My apologies then. All right. We do not need to change the agenda. Public comment on items not on the agenda. Does anyone have a hand up in the public? Does anyone want to speak? I hear nothing. Okay. Hearing and seeing nothing, we move on to the manager's report.
We have nothing really to update you on other than the daily reviews. And if you have any questions with the daily reviews, please let me know now.
Oh. There's a pattern here, not using the headphones.
Yeah.
So are there any questions regarding the daily reviews? Any particular issues that you would like me to talk about in more detail?
I have a question. I don't think it's been covered in the weekly or the daily updates.
Yes, sir.
My question is, what is the status of reimbursements to the town and village from the COVID-19 federal funds or state funds? I know you had made some acquisitions that affected
Gary.
our budget that you said you were anticipating them being funded by the COVID-19 money, and I was wondering what the status of that was.
Thankfully, we have Mr. Gary Fox here who has been shepherding that process. And Gary, would you be willing to speak to that?
Yeah, so the FEMA, we submitted on September 4th, And there's there's really just a couple of $1,000s there that FEMA will cover, but then the state has a local government expense reimbursement program, and we have submitted approximately $120,000 for expenses incurred already and that will be incurred through December, and there is the opportunity to add more, which we may, if we see how things come out with things like police cameras, for instance. So, yeah, I think every eligible expense we're asking for, and there's no reason to think we won't get reimbursed for them. The funds are there.
I'd like to thank Gary for being a part of the decision making right from the get go. We saw an escalation of our cost structures. These were in some cases unavoidable. If you want to maintain a building open to the public, for instance, you have to have certain precautions in place. Those obviously were not things that we had budgeted for last year, and these were unintended expenses. But throughout that time, we have been coding this at finance and then feeding Gary, who has been trying to position us in a situation where we get every penny due back to us.
Excellent. Thank you, and thank Gary.
Okay.
I have a question, Gary.
Okay, wait 1 second. My concern, my thinking about this is that this covers 2 fiscal years. We're talking about FY20 and FY21, right? So we're going to wind up receiving some funds that will cover the early pandemic need, and then
Our
some later.
FY20 books are closed, so whatever revenues we bring in will hit our FY21.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Just wanted to be sure. And you had a question for Gary?
Yeah, just a quick question for Gary. The 120,000 you said, Gary,
That's correct.
Is that a combination of town and village?
Yes, for instance, emergency preparedness committee, manager, health officer, fire, police, finance, met full time for like 5 weeks. So all of those salaries that some village, some town submitted. So yes, everything that was coded COVID-19, everything that we hope to do, like ventilation in town hall, and it's the eligible period was from late March until current. So regardless of the fiscal year, as Shannon said, it won't get applied correctly, but we will get the funds that were spent last fiscal year.
All set?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Was there anything else for the manager? Nope. Hearing nothing. All right. We will move on to the first item on the agenda, which is the Greater Falls Warming Shelter, and I have Louise Luring here to speak to that. Please turn your microphone on, Louise. You need to unmute yourself.
I'm trying to.
There you
Okay.
go.
All
There you
right. Good evening, everybody. And I'd like to, in my role as the chair of the Saxons River Trustees, I'd like to welcome Scott Pickup. And in my other role as the chair of the board of the Warming Shelter, some of you don't know much about the Warming Shelter, I assume, especially Scott. But I'd just like to give you a little bit of history that the Warming Shelter started about 10 years ago, maybe a little more, when the people in Brattleboro said, hey, we're taking care of all your homeless people down here. Can you do something? And a group of people got together, started with the Congregational Church there in Bellows Falls, and decided to open a shelter. And it's a seasonal shelter. It's only open in the winter, in the cold time. And it's moved around a lot. And right now we're in a very good spot in Westminster, right over the line. And we've been serving, I think we had about 10 people. That was our kind of our maximum number we could host. And we have had funding, about half of our funding came from the OEO, Office of Economic Opportunity, for their housing opportunity program. And this year, and we've had a lot of volunteers work. It's all volunteers except for a couple of people who work very part-time, getting volunteers or, keeping up things that need to be done. But this year, of course, it's very different. and we have decided not to open because we have limitation on space, and we could only host a limited number of people, very small number of people, because they have to be 6 feet apart, and people moving back and forth is difficult. And we also have a lot of volunteers like me who are older people who are very vulnerable, and it would be difficult to, even if they wanted to volunteer, it would be difficult for us to say, yes, you can volunteer. And we also, there was also the state has had a program since, I don't know, the spring, I guess since March, where they put homeless people up in motels, and they've extended that through next March. And they've also added, to make it work better, they've added case managers so that people aren't just warehoused in these motels. There's somebody, they have to sort of sign up, and they're in a program, and people are working with them to help them try to find some place to be permanently. And of course, one of the big problems is there just aren't enough apartments for people to go into, and landlords who are willing to rent to some of the people who have issues. Of course, there's issues of alcohol, mental illness, addiction to drugs, or people just had a bad rental history. And so it's hard to place these people. And so they need a case manager to advocate for them, to tell them where they can go for help. And that's going to be a great help this winter, I think. For those people who are willing to be in the program, there's some people, and we've had them in our shelter, who will not, they don't want anything to do with any government thing. And they have so many issues that they can't get it together, and they're not appropriate to be housed in that kind of a situation. So that's where we are right now. And I know there are some people in Bellows Falls, and they've been a problem, who've been at the Waypoint Center. And they are some of the really hardcore people who are hard to house, or to even have at the shelter. And I think some of them may have been, what's the word? They can't go to the shelter anymore because they haven't followed the rules. So speaking beyond that, I'd just like to have questions from people if they have concerns.
Okay, so does anyone have some questions for Louise about what's happening this season? I actually asked you to attend because I know we have our own homeless in our community, and we want to be able to know what the answer is. And this year, I knew Springfield wasn't doing their shelter, and I wanted to be sure that that there was something. And you have explained that. How would people contact the Greater Falls Warming Shelter if they have need of a hotel or something over the winter? If that happens, how do they reach you?
That's not how it works. So they work through the DCF, the Department of Children and Families in Springfield.
Okay.
Or SEVCA. SEVCA has a case manager. We don't really have any way for people to contact us. We don't have an office. We don't have a staff or even a telephone, really. So they go through the state agency, and they will help them.
Great. Thank you for letting us know that. Much appreciated, Louise. And if anyone has anything
No, I
else.
was actually going to ask the same thing about contacts.
Right, because before, with the shelter being open at 7 o'clock, 6 or 7 o'clock at night, people would just walk there
Right.
if they needed some help.
Right.
And that was the case before, but now with you not being open, they won't be able to do that. They'll probably find out from places like Our Place Drop-In Center or Parks Place or the police station who they need to contact. That's great.
Mm-hmm. They'll need to not wait until 7 o'clock at night. They'll need to make their plans earlier in the day.
Earlier, obviously. Yes, Chief Bemis has something, but you need a microphone.
I was going to suggest 211 has certainly helped people get rooms for a short period of time, state, and they can help longer term setting people up with the correct agencies and stuff. So if somebody's without a shelter, need to talk to somebody, 211 would be the place that I would direct them first.
Great. Thank you very much, Chief
Right.
Bemis. All right. If no one else has anything else, I thank you very much for Louise for zooming in tonight and talking to us.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye-bye. Good night. All right. Then we move on to our next agenda item, which is the police department and a camera presentation. I guess you need to come back up here. Or sit over there. That way you won't have to lean over.
As I've discussed a few other times, our camera systems in our vehicles, we have had a camera system since I believe it was 2004, different camera systems. First, they were VHS tapes, which we still have a closet full of old VHS tapes. And we have now we have a system that are on compact disc. Only one vehicle at this point has a camera. The camera is at the end of its lifespan, and works sometimes, does not work other times. And we've been looking at different systems that we think would be the best for the village all the way around. We are in hopes of working with Axon Technologies for a system for in-car cameras, which would be a three cameras for the 3 cruisers that we have. And this system would be certainly an upgrade from what we have now. It would be a system where you drive the cruiser to the police department. The video would download automatically into the server. It would be stored in the cloud by Axon, guaranteeing that the video is as it was recorded. And we're looking now only for cruiser cameras. At some point in the future, I suspect that we will all have body cameras. Certainly not opposed to that, but I'm not advocating for that to be spent with village funds at this point, because I believe there more than likely will be state or federal grants coming up to assist us with that. If not paying for it all, certainly paying for a good percentage of it. And if we go with Axon, Axon is the company that supplies many of the body cameras in Vermont as it is now. We would like one system for the cars, for the body cameras. And if we were going for body cameras, I think we would look for Axon as the company. There is a representative from Axon here. He can probably explain things that I can't to him. Nick Horn is on Zoom, and he was going to come in and assist us with that.
Are you ready for him?
Sure.
Okay, Mr. Horn, you're on.
Hey everybody, I'm having a little technical difficulties myself here, but I hope you can hear me. Is that all good?
Yes, it's good.
Awesome. Yeah, so Chief explained it pretty correctly. Basically, we're a cloud connected car and an ecosystem where you're basically able to store all of your evidence through evidence.com and basically be able to build trust within the community. It is an updated system, and I wish I could share my screen and show you some cool features, but would be happy to get with anybody and even meet with the board after this on another Zoom call. But yeah, basically everything that he explained is how it's going to work. They're going to be able to record from their car, and when they come back to the station, be able to upload everything via Wi-Fi, I believe he selected, and that will all be able to be accessed and shared with any DA portals or any DAs or public defenders just via the cloud. So it'd be seamless sharing online and be able to kind of access any case files you need. And every officer is going to have a chain of custody of the footage that they record, along with any automatic triggers that we might be able to have for them as well for any incidents, to make sure that situations that arise are being recorded that need to be documented. So happy to kind of explain anything that kind of goes from there. But yeah, Chief did a great job explaining it.
Okay, I'm assuming we're looking for costs. We'd have to know what we're looking for. Is there any money budgeted? Are we looking for grants? What are we doing?
Gary has applied for a grant that hopefully would pay for some of it. We don't know that how that's going to be, but as you explained, Gary, I think it's going to be sooner rather than later. We will know if we get some of that money, and it would be about 50%, correct?
Unclear, but as soon as we have. Nobody can hear you on Yeah, as soon as we have the invoice, the documentation for them, we would submit it and know pretty quickly if how much was reimbursed or not. Unclear though at this point. It's 50-50 whether we would get it, eligibility wise.
The Axon has come up with a proposal for us for three cameras, which would be a 5-year deal. They would install the cameras, and the payment would be over the 3-year period, with a total, I believe, of 36,100.
Is that over 3 years or 5 years?
5 years.
Okay.
5 years.
36.
For the 5 cameras, 3 cameras, 5 years
Is that in total?
in total.
$36,100.
$36,157
Over 5 years.
over 5 years.
So it's like 12 grand per cruiser.
It is
approximately.
about, yes.
So we would pay monthly, quarterly, annually. How does that work?
I believe we'd pay annually, is my understanding.
Nick,
Yeah,
perhaps you could clear that up.
Absolutely, yeah. So we're pretty flexible. It is annual. We're pretty flexible with how you want to do payment. It all depends on how budgeting goes and if grants work out or not. But what it looks like from what I'm looking at is year one would be a payment of about a little over $15,000, which would cover all the hardware, our team going there to install everything. Usually these deals are front loaded, and then the rest of the years are paying for the evidence storage and software licenses. And that looks like from year 2 to year 5, about 5,244. So glad to share these files with anybody, but these years can also be bounced out. They can be backloaded depending on the availability of funds.
And what happens after year 5?
Year 5, you could either choose to renew with us at a cheaper rate. Basically, you wouldn't have to pay for that hardware anymore. It would just be the continued payment of cloud storage, or obviously you would be free to go with another system as well. If there was a point where maybe this funding becomes unavailable during the time of our contract in our MSA, we do have a clause there that if you need to cancel because funding becomes unavailable for some reason, you'll be able to do that. And the police department will have access to their data with us, and we'll be able to get that to them. So that'll all be available to them regardless of if they continue with us. But this is basically almost like a leasing program. So they are going to be under warranty for that full 5-year term.
Okay. Questions from the trustees?
I have a question. Chief, do you have any idea what the public feeling is, the residents' feeling about the need for these cameras?
I think it's obvious that we want transparency, and this provides that and helps us with that. And I've talked to people in the community that certainly want to know what we're doing, if we're doing something wrong, if we're doing something right, and they want to see it. Certainly, for prosecuting cases, video is pretty much the gold standard as to what we do, what we don't do, and it's necessary there as well. But for transparency, I think that people have expressed to me that we should have cameras and we should be able to be accountable.
Anyone else?
I have a question.
Good.
I think you may have mentioned it. You said one crew, right now of the 3 cruisers, one has a working unit.
One does have a working unit at the mobile microphone sometimes works, sometimes does not. So you'll see the car stop. Sometimes you hear the voices. Sometimes you don't. And that we haven't been able to fix that to the.
Did we ever at one time were all 3 cruisers at one time at a point in time equipped with each have one?
At one point in time, we had 3 cruisers that did. We had 4 cruisers, I believe, at the time. So we had.
And then just kind of went.
There was
out of
one
service
cruiser that didn't, but the 3 road cruisers did have the cameras. Yes.
And they just kind of petered out over time, or
they have broken over time,
Yeah.
and just they are obsolete at this point.
Not supported, kind of what I thought.
That was what, Mobile Vision, Dave, or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Any further questions? I see nothing. Oh, I see. Yes, Alex?
Yeah, I think cameras would be great, not only for the public, but also to cover police officers too. Audio system on the new system. Is it updated? You have a mobile mic that.
You would have a mobile mic.
Yeah, that would be key.
Nick may be able to explain this better, but yes, you will have a mobile microphone on your uniform when you're out of the car with that. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes. So the way it goes, the front-facing camera has 3 mics. The back that gets the back seat has 2 microphones, and there is going to be a mobile microphone until you are equipped with those body cameras, which will basically be able to communicate with one another when the officer steps out of the car. The body camera will initiate, but for the time being, they are going to be equipped with microphones so that the audio will continue when the officer does leave the car, if any situation arises.
Stephen, you had a question?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask about. Because there's talk in the legislature about body cams, and I believe there's some mandates there with the state police. But does this company Axon do the body cams also?
Yes, Axon. That's why we would prefer Axon.
Yep.
Is because they do body cameras. Most of the body cameras, I don't know the percentage, but certainly a large percentage of the body cameras in use in Vermont now are Axon cameras.
Okay.
And we would prefer to have one system so that the body cameras and the in-cruiser cameras were the same. So we linked up, we have a problem with something, we go to one company, and it's a major company that will be here in 5 years.
And that'd be the smart way to go with one system. But also, we're talking mobile right now. Is that interchangeable, or is there anticipation of body cams for everybody?
My hope is that there will be federal funding, or that there will be state funding for body cameras for all officers. And if so, that would be my choice, instead of trying to put that on the backs of the taxpayers in the village.
That's what I was thinking. Okay.
Okay, so my consideration is that I don't think we have any budgeted money to make that purchase right this moment. So what do the trustees think? We need to move forward. At what point can we do that?
I think I do think that I think we ought to go ahead with it myself. And we had a big bump to our surplus. The budget so far through 3 months is doing well, and I think now would be an appropriate time, particularly given the new chief's recommendations, and I think it would be good for us to support that at this time.
Then let's get a motion on the floor. Would you like to make that?
I'll make a motion to acquire the three Axon units for our 3 cruisers. And I believe the financials are something like a first year, over a 5-year program, approximately $36,200, $15,000 roughly the first year, and then roughly $5,250 each year for the remaining 4 years.
Okay, I need a second for that.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's discussion. Shannon had something. What did you want to say, Shannon?
Just, I think we do have room in our budget, and I also think if Nick is willing to work with us on the financing and heavier on the back end, then exactly what Jig said, for budgetary purposes, will be fine.
All right. Any further discussion over the motion?
I just had I just want to clarify, it was 5,200 per year after the,
First year.
for the second through fifth year?
Right.
Correct.
Yeah, just to give you another idea of how we could work this out, if you wanted to bounce out years 1 through 5, it would be an even number of about 72-31, if that makes things a little bit easier. But to be completely transparent, we can work with you to start out with even less. I think what we would need is only about 10% of the total contract in year 1 to get you guys at least started and ramped up. But I'll double check with my team.
Okay.
Yeah, I think if we could get it even 5 years, that'd be better.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks, Nick, for letting us know about that. So you'll be getting in touch with Shannon about that, I'm assuming. So, yes. Oh, someone else? Yes, Gaetano, you need a microphone.
So just thinking ahead, and I don't know your cruiser schedule for replacement, but if you do get another one, does the company provide taking out, putting it in the new cruiser as part of this package? Is that an extra cost?
That's a question for Nick Horn. Mr. Horn?
Yeah, I believe that that would be an extra cost for installing the new car. But I'll double check and get back and follow up with either Sheep or Shannon on that. Is that something that's on the radar?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there'll be in a 5-year period.
In a 5-year
so
period,
certainly,
yeah. We're not
So
sure exactly what year, not this year.
What's the typical installation cost on a car that's equipped with the lights and the siren and all that stuff already?
That's about $1,200 per unit, roughly.
Okay.
That's reasonable. I can see that. Okay, I think we're probably good with that. Is there anyone else who has any questions during this period? Okay. We have a motion on the floor. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, we have passed the motion. Go ahead and get started.
All
All right, thank you, Mr. Horn, for attending.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Chief Bemis. Okay, all right, that moves us on to the next item on the agenda, which is real-time transparency. And you have the microphone?
So that's actually a great segue into what I hope is going to be a long conversation. I think that, certainly accountability and transparency are key to community support and satisfaction. So one of the things that because I started looking for information about what happens in Bellows Falls. And I found inconsistencies and old information. We have great venues, but there's nothing on them. So Facebook, the blog is great, except it looks like no reports landed there after, gosh, I want to say August, July or August is when the regular call reports ended. And I had a question about whether those log reports, are those computer generated and easily generated? Sorry.
Yeah, make sure you both have one, yeah.
Thank you.
The reports that we put in the blog are hand done more than computer generated. But they're not difficult because of the computer system. We can get that data out. But it is not it's not just hitting a button. We do have to go through them and to pull that information out, what we posted on the blog. Yes.
So, I mean, one of because living in one of the neighborhoods that actually has quite a bit of activity going on all the time for the last 6 years, when I look at those reports, I don't see, like, I know that there was a visit to a street that joins ours. But that's not on the log anywhere. And there's other, it's what do you pull, what do you pull off that is inappropriate to share with the community? I think we need to understand what the guidelines are. When I talk to other people, I hear the same thing, that there is no trust. There has not been a foundation of trust built so that when information does come out, that people actually believe it. And I think part of that is that there's not much that's coming back. Follow through is a big issue. So I make a call and make a report, and then there's nothing for 2 years. It's like, what is the process? What is the process when you see something like the kid, the mother that posted that sent a letter to Jim Mitchell about her daughter? Everybody in the world sees that, but they don't see that anything actually happened. And that incident is what prompted me to get my Irish up and start asking questions and looking for information, because they're our future and we need kids. We want them to stay here, or we want them to go to school. We want them to come back, because I'm getting old and I'm going to need somebody to take care of me. And there's a lot of people that are boomers. We can't take care of each other forever. We need those young people. So we have to protect them. So one of the things is, is there a process by which, and this is not just for the police department, this is for trustees. Oh, welcome, new manager. And by which there is actual interaction with the community without a request. So, I have had some great conversations with folks, but what is the process for following up? If I make a call, what happens after that?
Well, certainly if you made a call, an officer would be dispatched to investigate what the call was relevant to. There are certain things that we can release. There's some things we can't release. Certainly, investigations that are long-term investigations are difficult for us to release. I know some of the issues that you have. We certainly are involved in those, but we can't necessarily discuss it with you or really anybody. The facets of an investigation going forward. If anything that involves a juvenile, we can't release much of any of that information to the caller, to anybody.
Right. And I get that. I mean, I come from a lifetime in healthcare, so confidentiality and privacy are paramount.
Yes.
So I get that. But I'm distressed that people have given up, as evidenced by attendance at the annual meeting. It's a good example. I think it's a disconnect.
Well, let me assure you, at the police department, we haven't given up. Our days are full. Our time is, some days it's going from one thing to another. But we haven't given up on the village or the people in the village. And we're here to try and help everybody. Are we going to please everybody? Certainly not.
No.
Are we going to miss sometimes of getting back to a complainant when we've gone 2 calls ahead, before we've been able to get back? That probably is going to happen too. But that's the credit of that right now. We should talk to the people that call in. Certainly let them know that we understand that what's going on. We may not be able to tell them much, but we certainly should be able to and try to make contact with everybody and discuss their incident with them at the time they call and then after we've had a resolution to it.
And knowing, and this goes back to transparency and, people have different backgrounds. They come from different walks of life. That knowing that we pay, that the police are part of a union. And it kind of, as a taxpayer, I don't really care about the minutia of that contract. I don't care about the financials of it. But what I do care about is the quality and performance indicators that I suspect are included in that contract that build confidence. So if I know that there are performance measures that the force has to meet, and I know that you're evaluating that and that there are guidelines for corrective action, then I would feel like $1 million. Like, wow.
Well, certainly there are reviews, supervisor reviews every case that an officer does, looks it over. If there is any questions, they talk to them. They deal with that every incident. It doesn't, it's not, pick and choose. It's every one that a supervisor looks over of the incident. Every case that goes down has to be approved, has to be looked at. The charges that we're going to charge somebody with or not charge somebody with. Certainly, more than probably any other operation, the police department, we do review everything that the officers do, and are on top of that daily. It's not a once a year review. It's daily. We review, look at what happened, try to improve when something didn't go perfect, and deal with that.
So because I get time, totally. And I understand that, we all are working with less resources this year than we worked with last year and the year before that and the year before that. So I think it would be beneficial if there was access to those processes. I don't care about the people. I don't care about the incident. I just want to know that there's a process in place. So how that gets communicated to the community, I think is really important.
Okay.
I think that's an ongoing conversation that we're going to be having for a while with regular updates from the police department.
Please,
Sure.
please.
The only thing I want to mention,
Yes,
if I could, Debbie, is you may hear a lot of things or you may see some things, but my advice would be, or my comment would be, don't believe everything you hear, only half of what you read.
And I understand that as coming from a large organization with a lot of staff and a variety of disciplines, I get that. But the only way you can sort it through is with more information. So, you know, you got to give us something so that we feel comfortable that things are happening on the back. You know, the union is the union, and I did find the original 2005 agreement online forming the union. And I know who is excluded, but, you know, maybe it would be helpful if the union rep held a community meeting for questions. And I know. You can laugh if you'd like, but
I mean, certainly, any of the officers and we hope to be having more interactions with the community. I'm not sure it would necessarily, if we are out here speaking to the people, it's because we're members of the police department, not because we're a union or non-union, you know, individual. We all work together. We all work for the village. The union's there for the reasons they're there, but that doesn't take away from the fact that everybody at the police department works for the village and people in the village.
so it's village processes and policies, not necessarily the union.
Manager is the manager of the chief of the department, and the chief manages his employees. So it would be management, not
Are
not the union.
implementing policy.
Right.
Yes.
The union contract does have procedures dealing with grievances on the part of the employees or members of the union. It also has provisions for discipline that the chief can impose, different things, and those have been negotiated. But by and large, the focus of the union is the officers. It's not the community. Okay, and I think that the community's best interest are represented by the chief, the manager, the board of trustees, and of course the officers themselves. And I think hopefully our chief and our staff will respond well to the new leadership and make us prouder of the commitment to the village.
And I understand. I mean, you can only peel one banana at a time. So, I'm not here to ask for the world, just to bring up things that are of concern to other people in the community. I want to see this room full. I don't want to see 300 people voting in the local elections when there's 3,000 plus people in the community. There needs to be, they need to be encouraged to participate. And somehow we've lost that, because I remember when it wasn't that way. I mean, there's people sitting around this table. I'm looking at one of them that was like central to, knowing people in the community. And somehow we've drifted. So if there's anything I can do to help, I'm happy to do that. If you need volunteers to take on some of this stuff, there's plenty of people out there that need to be coerced into coming back and participating.
Well, we would encourage people. We wouldn't try and coerce them.
No, well, I can coerce them into volunteering.
So I think this is an ongoing, like I said, ongoing conversation. We'll continue to have updates. Please feel free to send us emails, call us, come in for meetings. We have meetings every 2 weeks. Now we have the new chief in place, and we will see how things evolve. You're absolutely right, and citizens are not the only ones that are concerned about transparency and community policing for our community. Why a lot of us are here. Thank you, Mary, for coming in. Let's see. So I would like to ask, has the blog been fixed?
We believe it's been fixed. They have changed something in the program. We have worked at it. We believe it's fixed. Are people getting any of?
I know that people were encouraged to re-up on that on the blog in order to receive new data, just in case everything else got dropped. Is anyone getting it? Yes. Okay. Yep. Need a microphone. I guess we could use a couple more of these, huh?
First thing is, last time I was here, we had this conversation. And since then, I have received 3, I think, email, blog updates about arrests. Secondly, in reference to the statement you made, is the trustees have discussed thoroughly the reports they get that I think is public information that you could receive if you're interested in seeing every single call. They receive them. It's public information. It's not something they would ever take the time to publish, I don't think. So just in reference to every single call they get, these guys see it, and you're welcome to see it as a village resident. And then lastly, in the spirit of transparency, it's been mentioned quite a few times here. So before, when the topic came up about the encrypted radio channel, and I had questioned, or other folks had questioned, why we seem to be the only department around here that runs this secret channel, we were told the previous chief put it in place. I think some officers didn't understand why. And to me, that doesn't reek of transparency with new leadership, moving forward, transparency. When I listened to a medical call the other day on Laurel Ave where the ambulance couldn't contact the police department, so they have to go through Keene they couldn't be in touch with a vehicle that's 2 blocks away because of this channel. So my question is to the president, if that's also in talks of having an open channel where if I want to listen to VSP, I do so on the scanner. If I want to listen to Brattleboro or Keene, I can do that. I'm sure they all have codes when there's things they don't want us to know about. But here we can't, we have no idea what they're doing because of this encrypted radio frequency.
Our last large conversation on that was with the previous manager. Previous manager thought encryption was a great thing and didn't see any reason to remove it. I, for one, as a trustee, believe it should be removed, as we are the only community that uses it, and I don't see its purpose when it impedes things like other emergency services. So, however, we didn't put it in. The money came from a grant, as I recall, so I don't think we don't have any control over it, but I would encourage the new chief to remove the encryption. Does anyone else have anything to say on the police matter?
One thing I would say about that, I don't think the ambulance has the frequency, but they could contact us, just like the fire truck. They have our frequency, same frequency, they can contact us. I don't think the ambulance has that frequency in their radios to contact us. But if they did have the frequency, they could contact us. It's just like the fire truck. When the fire truck talks to us, it's not over encryption. It's,
I mean, either way, it's 2 emergency services that are in a village of 1.1 square miles.
yep. No, we should talk to each other, but they could talk to us regardless of the encryption.
Or we could have removed the encryption. Alex, you had something?
Yep.
Just wanted to say I support some of the things that Mary has said. I think the key is we kind of understanding the policies of, how officers are rewarded in their work and how they, if there's a complaint leveled against them or if there's some problems, what policies and what actions do you take for corrective action? I think just sort of understanding that with the police department. And, if someone has a complaint, this doesn't mean, currently I think you have to go to the police department. I mean, that's a little daunting if you do have a complaint against a police officer, it would probably make more sense just to move it down to the town hall and allow people to file that complaint. And in addition to that, if a complaint or if people have an issue with the police department, it goes to you and it goes to the manager. And is there, how do we know that those issues are being taken care of or addressed? Not that we have to know the specific details or anything like that. It's just, I mean,
If you file the complaint, you like a response, right?
yeah. And it's not like people are going to file complaints, but we want to try to make sure that it is being taken into consideration and that it is being worked on, and that we reward officers that do the job that they need to do, and the ones that aren't doing what they need to do are effectively, either getting the correct training that they need, or, you have the ability, or the manager has the ability to be able to, tell them to go find a new job. That's all.
As for complaints, we will take a complaint in any form that anybody wishes to do it. They don't have to come to the police department. They could call it in, they could email it, they could stop at the town hall and speak to somebody here. We will take any citizen complaint any way that it is submitted to us, and we will investigate it. As for disciplinary actions, we would follow the town personnel policy, just like any other village or town employee would go through for a disciplinary action.
Okay, thank you. So, but the one question he is asking, do you respond to the complainant so they get a follow-up?
We do, but because it's personnel issues, it is limiting on what we can say to somebody. The union can send a representative to any disciplinary action that is being had, and they can act as an advocate for an officer, but they don't have any say in the disciplinary or investigative process.
Thank you. Okay, we would like to move on.
Yeah, we need to move on.
So
Microphone.
So can we put that on the page, on the website, that people that they can file a complaint in multiple ways?
Sure.
Yeah, instead of just, because.
Yep, we will absolutely take any complaint or any concern anybody has, any way they want to get it to us.
All right. Okay, thank you. Thank you, folks, for coming in. I'm sorry, is there someone behind me?
I'm not clear if it was a yes or no answer to my question. I'm sorry.
Oh, concerning the encryption? We
Yes,
didn't get,
we're going to look into it or not at all?
I
Love it.
am saying that the last manager thought it was a good idea when we asked about it before and asked that it be removed, and I didn't get a yes or no answer from Chief Bemis either. So it's still discussion. I guess that's what I would have to say. Discussion item.
Recommendation,
Sure.
maybe allow the new manager to come in and speak with the chief and fully understand everything, and then they can make a decision together.
That's fine. Yes. I would like to cover the activity logs. We just in the fact that we've received 3 different formats from the dispatcher. I don't know if we're happy with any one of them or if we still want something. I know we wanted what you were looking for, Jigs, was something that gave high priority activities such as drugs and and death and that sort of thing first, as opposed to every traffic stop.
I thought it was interesting, the other 2 looks at the
Formats, yeah.
log.
Mhm.
And I think I'd be happy to just leave it at that for right now and see how our discussions progress with the new manager and the chief in terms of how do we highlight more of the big scale items but again, I think I did find it interesting to see the two different looks at the, or the three looks at the log, so.
So, okay, so you want to, we want to ask the dispatcher to continue sending it like that?
I think so, if it's just.
That's okay?
If you can just.
We can do all
Okay, at this point, until we
Yeah.
settle things, until
Yes.
things get worked out and settled. Anyone else have anything on the activity logs? All right, hearing nothing. We move on then. Thank you, everyone, again for coming in. On the financial analysis of the sludge removal. Did you have paperwork for us, Shannon?
So we have the owner of the company, and then Rob and I are gonna speak to it.
Right, but I know that we were looking for some kind of
Well,
written financial analysis, which we didn't get.
Well, I have everything for you. There is nothing to specifically put in writing, so we can give you all of the information. Right now, what they're so speaking to the sewer department, they are very excited about this opportunity, and over 20 years, it'll save us about $1 million. So we would be leasing the machine for 9 months at $10,000 a month. And during that time, we will be reducing by half at least, but Rob can speak better to this, our sludge removal costs. So we will still be saving money with our sludge removal costs during the 9 months of leasing. If we move ahead with the purchase, they will put half of the $90,000 down for a down payment. So $45,000 towards the $300,000 machine, which we would finance over 5 years. So for the first 5 years, we'd be flat. We wouldn't be paying more than we are now for sludge removal. We'd be paying the same that we are and the same that we've budgeted. And after the initial first 5 years, we would then be saving the $70,000 a year that we pay for sludge removal, which we anticipate will go up.
Okay, I just want to clarify that I know that what we asked for here was written material showing us what it looked like, what we're currently spending, ending the $10,000 per month, or what for the 9-month project, so we could see that. We didn't get that.
Rob has.
But we had given that out last.
Yes, we wanted to.
Right, yeah, I know, what you gave out last month was an introduction. That was fine, but it wasn't a financial analysis.
We wanted a financial analysis with a projection of what it would look like, so we could see the savings when it started happening, by projecting it. That's not what we got here.
Well, you're going to be flat for the first 5 years, and then you will save the $70,000 a year that you pay for sludge removal.
Well,
for the life of the machine.
I think Stefan had something first. So
Okay,
Stefan, could
yeah.
you speak?
Of course, recently water and sewer bills just went out. So, and we are in the middle of this pandemic, and hopefully maybe we're towards an end. I don't know. But you have a lot of people in this community that are worried about their taxes. They're worried about their water and sewer bills. They've either had their hours reduced or cut back, or a partner's lost a job, or a combination of both. The impact to the sewer rates, will this increase sewer rates at all over 5 years?
Not at all. So last year we came in significantly under budget, and the water and sewer funds are enterprise funds, which are different than the general fund. And so we came in significantly under budget for sewer. And so we can take this out of the sewer fund. But for the first 5 years, we will be flat. So, and then in the back end of it, the last 15 years of the life of the machine, we will be saving, and depending sludge removal, we project the price will increase for the removal. We'll be saving about $70,000 to $80,000 a year.
So this would be out of the existing budget and revenues. It would not involve a bond.
No. So we would take out a loan, and a 5-year loan for this purchase.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually the perfect opportunity to do it. We have the funds to be able to do it. The electricity cost will be minimal. It does not require any more employees or time. This is something that's just done while the guys are working. They're familiar with it. And it's a good opportunity, and all cost savings. And we would never reduce sewer rates, but this will have a long-term reduction on our budget.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. were you-
Well, I just want to, whether it be this board or any other board, or we're spending people's money. I appreciate your information. I'm proceeding ahead with, we're not sure what the future holds yet, and we'll maybe have a clearer vision come about the first week in November. I don't know. But, we've got a plan. We've got to hope for the best, but plan for the worst. So I just want to make that comment.
Well, after this initial year, which we already have the money from all the savings from last year for this lease attempt, the payment would be the difference of what we would have paid for sludge removal. So you're saving significant money long term, and you're paying nothing extra in the short term. So
I don't agree with that.
I know you don't. That's why I just wanted to see it written out.
But maybe I
That's
can
not
clear
true.
if you explain to me why.
If I may.
It's not true. I mean, it's
Get him out of the system, go back to it.
we're currently, I've got some basic questions to ask too, but we're basically spending about $6,000 a month in sludge removal. Okay? If we go into this trial, we will incur a new $10,000 cost. 10,500? Okay? That's something we didn't budget for. We were not significantly under budget on our expenses in the wastewater last year. We would have the $6,000 cost that may be reduced if we send fewer trucks up to wherever they go. The 6,000 might become 2,000 or something. So instead of 6,000 a month, we'll be paying 12,500 a month for 9 months. Okay, if we
That's not
decide
accurate,
that this isn't a good deal, we don't like it, then we will have had this sunk cost.
There's no chance that we will feel that way.
Well, all right. Then now we're getting to the other questions, which is the who has this system in place? I mean, who has done the test and bought the equipment? Okay.
RMI is here to speak to all of this. So,
if I may, is this okay?
The microphone actually swivels. You don't need to move the base.
Oh,
Yeah, there you go.
okay, thank you. Sorry, I'm not a rock star. I'm not used to these things. First of all, thank you for taking time to have me here this evening. My name is Sheila Connolly. I am the president and one of 3 owners of the company, Resource Management, Inc., RMI. We had approached Rob and his team at the wastewater treatment facility to see if they wanted to improve their sludge management options, because we feel that to stop hauling water is the right, responsible thing to do for the environment, for the community, and for our society, big picture. We had this machine located in Brattleboro for the last year and ran that as a pilot with them. Brattleboro operated the machine. It worked great, met all the expectations, but they want a bigger machine. It is not sized big enough for what they produce. We talked with Rob about his production, and one of the nice things is here in the village, you folks have already invested in dewatering system. Your PW dewatering system was an investment that you made that actually was a super thing and a good decision to do. This dryer that we'd be bringing in is compatible with the dewatering that you already have in place and takes it to the next level so that you wouldn't be hauling to landfill anymore. You would be creating a wonderful fertilizer product that can be recycled right here locally. If I could speak to one of the concerns this gentleman raised, I'm sorry, I don't know your name, but about the cost savings and how that might look. I believe my employee provided you with a couple of handouts, and at the last meeting, I didn't bring copies for everyone, but I can get those back out to you if you like. You're currently producing 415 tons of wet sewage sludge a year that is going to a landfill for disposal.
Yeah.
You're currently paying on average about $170 a wet ton to do that. So that's costing you about $70,500 a year.
Mhm.
Good? We're all together still?
All together.
All right. So now under this new dryer system, you'd reduce that tonnage because you'd be moving all the water. So you're no longer hauling a big truck of water with a little bit of solids. Now you're hauling a lot of solids and almost no water. That reduces your tonnage from 415 down to 120. That's a fourfold reduction.
So
That
it's a
is
fourfold reduction.
correct.
Okay.
So now
Annually?
annually.
Yeah, annually. Okay.
So now here's the interesting thing, which we put in as a safety margin. If you had to pay the same cost for going to that landfill of $170 a ton, you would be annual cost for this at $20,400. Now I'm here to tell you, you will never pay $170 a ton for dried fertilizer. In fact, my recommendation is that will be probably under $50 a ton because you will be using this locally with farms, with landscapers, with gardeners. You're not going to pay to get rid of this anymore at those disposal rates at a landfill. This creates a product instead of a waste. So,
Can I ask you a question there?
yes, please do.
Is this fertilizer, would it be considered organic?
It would not be considered
Not-
organic under the USDA rule for organic standards. However, the USDA is taking up biosolids to be considered for that in this next round of work that they're doing on the rules. That was just announced
Okay,
about a
because
month
I think to me, that's an important distinction between the, a non-organic. The other part is just how desirable this fertilizer is. I mean, have we contacted our farms around here that are not organic as to whether they would love to have this stuff?
So if my
I mean,
math,
what's your experience in
Yep.
all these other towns that,
if my
course, you're
mask
gonna get it-
wasn't
you're gonna get
on,
to
you'd
that.
see
Sure.
I'm smiling because I love biosolids. And biosolids is treated human sewage sludge that has been converted into a valuable fertilizer product that provides nitrogen, which is essential for crop growth. I currently work throughout the whole Northeast. I've been in business with this company. I started in this field in 1988, and I've started my company in 1994. I've been doing this a long time. I work with a lot of communities. South Burlington, to our north, we handle all of their Class A biosolids, and we sell that for $10 a ton. We don't give it away. It's not free. It's a valuable
So
fertilizer.
who buys it?
The farmers.
Okay, now what about, like Jiggs had mentioned, the criteria of organic as opposed to non-organic? I know you mentioned
Right.
EPA or whoever.
Yeah.
But I mean, right now, there's some farms that specifically market their product or products on organic.
And so the organic farms, I sell them wood ash. And wood ash is an organic approved through USDA product, but it only provides potassium, has no nitrogen. Biosolids is not approved by the organic group. However, biosolids are in high demand and they are used with conventional farmers. They're used with highway departments. I use them on my gardens. I have 3 wonderful children who didn't grow with 2 heads. It's safe, it's approved, it works super.
Okay, let
I
me
have
ask
a
you-
waiting list for farmers that would be interested in this material from Bellows Falls.
Okay, now you're mentioning it dries this stuff out, correct? What's the energy of the fuel that you use to do that? I mean, we're going to be looking at gas costs, we're looking at electricity costs.
Those are gonna go up.
Electricity.
Electricity.
Solar's great.
So theirs are gonna go up.
Yeah.
Those costs go
So
up.
the cost savings for removing that water at the source is really why my company got involved with this, because we believe very strong. I work for wastewater treatment plants all across the Northeast, and we firmly believe that you should use the energy locally to reduce all that water right at the source so that your final product that you're taking out the door is dry It's not smelly, it's friable, and it's a commodity that's valuable.
Okay, but what, I'm missing it here, or you're
Yep.
sidestepping. What's the energy that's going to be used to do this? I mean, if you're zapping electricity,
How
that
much
could take
more?
a lot.
Electricity will be used.
Yep.
And it dries it from 25% solids to 90% solids. So it's basically evaporating that water out. The water is condensed, and then that water, that condensate, goes right back into the treatment plant.
So what are we looking at projected
Right.
energy cost of electricity?
I'm sorry, your cost will be around $9,000 a year is our estimation if you're using 11 cents per kilowatt hour.
If you're using the 11 cents, okay.
The material after it's dried.
Yep.
What would our plant do with that?
So,
Do you require some kind of a storage facility or something? Or
so part of the.
I imagine. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Yep.
Part of the trial and then an ongoing program, we provide what are called 1-ton super sacks. Farmers use this for fertilizer all the time. You would simply, the dried product would dump from the dryer right into a 1-ton super sack, and you pick it up with forks and then put it in the back of a pickup truck, and a farmer takes that off. RMI, under this pilot program, we would be responsible for managing all of your dried product at no additional cost for this trial. We can also be retained to continue that, but and as I said to Rob, you know, a lot of places like us to stay on for the first year to do the compliance, the oversight, the reporting, all that kind of thing. But ultimately, especially, I know it's everything to you, but you're a really small facility. So 100 tons a year, I mean, that's really teeny weeny in the big scale of things. So if we carry 30 tons on our trucks, well, you carry about 15 or 16 on yours. At 100 tons a year or 120, that's 4 of our trucks. That is really manageable. So I said to Rob, you know, if we work out a relationship with a local farmer or a landscaper or a dirt jockey, you know, we would anticipate that you can do that more cost effectively. So you can save that $20,000 a year on top of the $50,000 a year. I mean, this can become a really good program to be handled locally. That said, our company is in the business of recycling biosolids, whether they're sludge that's untreated, whether it's class B, which is what you're currently making as an anaerobically digested material, or class A, which is what you would be making. We can help with all aspects of that. Depends on how comfortable a community is in managing it. But I'll tell you what, if you have a local contractor who's pushing 30,000 yards of dirt around a year, this would get lost in a heartbeat. It's not a big amount to work through. We retain all of the responsibility for documenting that it meets the requirements for general distribution, and then we work with you to ensure that you have markets for this.
Okay, I think somebody had mentioned it here, maybe Jigs, about storage.
Yep.
Can this be stored out in the weather? Does it have to be packaged?
It can be stored in the weather. It can be packaged. It can be.
So can it get wet and all that?
Yes,
has
it
to
can.
be- It can. Okay.
Yep. Somebody asked earlier, you know, where's this machine? Where are they working? So Brattleboro's where we did our first pilot with them. We also have a machine that's currently up and running in Hooksett, New Hampshire. And that machine is also making a dried product that meets the Class A standards. And we have a waiting line for that material. On my drive over here, I was contacted by Rensselaer County over in Troy, New York. They said, hey, I got a bunch of Class A, Sheila. Can you take it for me? Because we're running into winter and we don't want to have a bunch on hand. We want to make sure that gets moved this fall. So that is what we do. And it's a valuable product. No one should waste their biosolids ever. It's a great product in any agricultural program, but also in landscaping, highway jobs, anything that we're trying to grow crops. Crops need nitrogen. We excrete nitrogen every day.
So I wanted to ask I just want to ask if I could. So did you handle all the biosolids during the pilot program for Brattleboro?
Yes.
So they didn't have any haulage. Is that what you're saying?
No, just us.
So that means we won't have any haulage during the 9 months. Is that what you're trying to say? So we will save those haulage costs That's
Yeah.
that's what we kept hearing before, was that we'd still have haulage, and we're paying this much for haulage in a
No,
year,
no.
and we won't have any haulage during the 9 months
So to
of the
speak
program.
to the question of will this be higher than what you normally pay? During this period,
Well,
RMI would be paid the $10,500, which would include both the machine, all of our work with you, and we will handle all of the material, whether it's wet, dry, whatever state it is, until we get it all figured out. At the end of that time, if you buy the machine, we will give you back 50% of what you paid us. So there is no increase to your current operating cost. That was an actual factual statement.
Now, okay, this machine is used, right? It's been used down in Brattleboro.
Yes, it was used for 400 hours.
So
It's
so
got-
does the price of the machine reflect the fact that it's used?
Yes, it does, sir. And this is why this is kind of a unique opportunity, and it's not going to be here forever. I am working through this opportunity because of your proximity to Brattleboro,
Mhm.
because Rob is an innovator and interested in pursuing alternative options, and RMI would like to see success for Bellows Falls. We recognize that you've already chosen an innovative path by putting in the dewatering that you have, and that dewatering matches up with this dryer perfectly. So it's kind of like all the framework has been set and in place. You already did all the heavy lifting. And this would be sort of to me, we tried to do this in a way that is very low risk. You can cancel at any time. We will move it out. This is meant, I am so confident that this will work for you, that is why I said, anything you pay above your current operating cost, we will put right into the machine. So that is reduced at the end by that rebate, if you will.
Okay, if I may ask, you're talking about selling the product too, and you take care of all that. And it was like $10 for how many pound bag?
That's a ton. So,
Okay, a ton.
Yep.
So where does all that revenue go? Are we getting that revenue? Are we splitting that revenue? Or are you split? Or what's happening with that?
we can fashion it any which way you want. It depends on if you want us to be involved with it, then we would have a revenue sharing. If you want to do it yourself,
Right.
you get all that money. If you want to retain us to do your compliance, so be it.
Well, give me some ideas though of revenue sharing on a projection of how much you would get and what we would have for a take.
So for the compliance piece, if you say, Sheila, we're going to run the dryer, we're going to put it in the bags, and then we're going to sell it to people, but I want to keep you on board to do the environmental conservation people and the Department of Ag and do all that compliance. I would charge you $500 a month. I do compliance. You do whatever you want with your product as long as you follow these things that I tell you to do.
Right.
If you say, Sheila, I want you guys just to take this stuff and go away, I don't want it to be my headache, then I'll get the revenue.
Okay.
We can work it out. I have to be real honest with you. You're only going to have 120 tons left.
You're talking $1,200, right?
You get it, man.
Yeah.
1,200 for what?
Potential $1,200.
To sell 120 tons.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a huge amount of money, no. Okay. What about
Wait.
maintenance?
Point of order, everybody. I'll stop talking so one person can talk. Go ahead. Six.
Shannon mentioned that there would be no additional labor costs, that it would be absorbed by the current staff. What about maintenance of this machine? What is required other than the time that it would take the local staff to do cleaning and that kind of thing?
Yep.
What kind of what's the life of this machine? Is it 20 years? Is it 5 years? Is it 12 years? And what would be a reasonable annual maintenance fee that we'd be looking at?
Great question. So the machines are designed to be a 20-year machine. As I said, this machine has 400 and change on it for hours. Maintenance is typically an hour a week for regular maintenance and 2 hours a month for monthly maintenance. And on a yearly basis, they estimate maybe an 8-hour day for annual maintenance. Okay. Um, in terms of reducing costs, we find that when you are dealing with a wet sludge, when you're dealing with 415 tons, divide that by 15. I left my calculator over there. I'm sorry, but that's how many loads you're dealing with an operator, making sure it's picked up right, it's delivered off to where it goes, the can comes back, all that stuff. When you reduce that down to 120 dry tons, you just don't have staff time tied up dealing with this. You know, it's a little different in that you have somebody else currently hauling your sludge up to the landfill. So you don't have your staff tied up doing that, but you're paying dearly for it, and that goes away. So I'm trying to set this up to make it as low risk for you as possible, because I want to see this succeed. I think that your team at the treatment plant is pretty engaged and they're innovators. We believe, didn't you just get operator of the year or something? Yeah,
Yep.
right. Okay. Not bad. We believe it's a good fit. My company has been around for 26 years. I have my reputation, and that's what I operate under. We do good work. We do firm partnerships. Brattleboro was my first biosolids customer. They are still my biosolids customer 26 years later. That's because we honor our word, we do our work, and we are very proud of biosolids recycling. So I'm here to
And
tell you,
Brattleboro is buying a new machine from you, right?
they would like a bigger machine. And
Does
here's
that
the
mean
story.
that they-
Here's the story. The machine could have worked for them if they were willing to work 24 hours a day, not work 24. If they were allowing the machine to work
run
24 hours a
24
day, but their dewatering is not like your dewatering. So they have Fournier pressers. You guys have PW press, and PW talks to our machine beautifully. The Fournier presses do not. So it will never do their full capacity in Brattleboro. It will do your full capacity, plus you've got about a 30% growth opportunity. So you can grow with that machine.
With that machine.
Yes.
But you can add on to that machine.
And you can add on. It's a modular system. So if you suddenly got a new creamery that moved to town and you had a lot of waste coming through, we can manage for that.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, what happens to the economics if there's our sludge operation or our septage operation has benefited from the pandemic of all things.
Yeah. Yes, it has, hasn't it?
One of the things that I wanted to see in the financial analysis that I had asked for was subject the model, create the model, create the economic model, and then hit it with a 50% reduction in volume. Okay, so the that type of dynamics. I would say that the annual savings at this current level.
Yep.
If you shrunk the amount in half, would be, the hauling cost of 70,000 would become 35,000. So the whole economics or the payback time or whatever, however you want to plot this thing, could go from 7 years to 15 years. And this is a 20-year machine. So it's sort of like, that's the benefit of having some robust financial analysis. And now, don't get me wrong. I love the idea of doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think that just being a resident of the planet.
Yep.
Okay, I like the idea of shrinking this stuff. Okay, I think that's a real plus in my mind. And the fact that it can be used as a fertilizer is another plus. Okay, if you take the risk out of that, in other words, if we don't have to worry about any kind of hauling, and we give up the revenue, then that takes, that gives us an either or type of proposition. But again, I think that the cost of this under different scenarios. And again, the only thing that makes sense with this trial is that we're going to buy it. Okay, I mean, if to substitute 10.5 for 7 is not good math. Follow me? So it really becomes, we're assuming that we're going to pay $10,500 for 9 months and then whatever, 4,500 if we're going to finance it over 7 years.
But we're able to try this, Jigs, and make sure it works and it's compatible and we're all comfortable with it. Instead of, okay, 5 years down the road, we do this and we buy it. And then all of a sudden we get something that doesn't work.
And I thought it was proven.
Well, it is proven. That's what I'm saying. But I just want to make sure that it does work and it is, and we all feel comfortable with it. So this is a perfect opportunity to kind of lease to own, where if we had another bond to go out to and we buy this outright, like we do another upgrade and we get something similar to this and it's not this one, and then we find out we get it, doesn't work, then we're kind of stuck with it.
So
you know what I mean?
So I hear what you mean, but I think like I said, if we don't have to, if once we install this thing, we don't have to haul any sludge.
Yeah.
Okay. Then it's 9 months at 10,000 versus 7,000.
Right.
Okay, I can get warmer about that.
Okay.
but so that's fixed. So the variable that we have if we adopt this system is electric cost.
That is a variable, yes.
Yeah.
What are the other cost variables? Because it seems that if we don't adopt it, our cost variable is haulage, which we anticipate will go up.
Or we'll lose that source.
And so we could be at 10 grand anyway. And also is another factor that regardless of how much septage if septage goes down 50%, we still have that fixed cost, regardless of what's going into the system. The only time that it's going to cost us more is if we have more septage than the system will handle.
But the septage end of it is if we have less septage, we're going to have less hauling.
Yes.
Right.
So I mean, but the septage is not going to go away.
No,
That's never.
No.
And since we put the plant in, the 24 hours, 365, we built it, they came, and they're still coming.
Right.
Yeah, I doubt that's going to go down.
That's one of those things that it was a wise move, and we're seeing the benefit of that. So I don't see septage going downhill anytime soon.
And I would just add to that, one of the things that I think that this drying technology provides, I consider it to be a risk management tool, because there are so many things we can't control. You talk about variables that are going on, and the things that you can't control in our industry, our external threats, are things like PFAS. Some people call it PFO or PFAS. So this is just an area that we can't control. But what I can control is if that plagues me in my industry, well, I sure want to, instead of having 400 problems to deal with, I want 100. So I'm looking at this for everybody, not just you folks. This is a really smart path to go down for the future of your sludge management. Whether you work with RMI or somebody else, I would strongly recommend that you contemplate investing in the long-term security so that you have choices and you are not sort of hogtied to a landfill or an incinerator. This gives you options. This material in other places in the world where it's used is used to then be a fuel, so that the biosolids, instead of being recycled, they become a fuel for an incinerator. So there are lots of different pieces to it. And this strategy here in your very nice little hamlet, you have beautiful biosolids. You should be recycling them. It breaks my heart it's going into a landfill. I'm sorry.
Can you remind me what happens with the condensate and whether there's a savings related to capturing that?
So the condensate it ends up being a very clean water, and it's recycled right back to the headworks. So it stays right there. Now there's an opportunity there. if we had a drought like we've had this year, you could actually use that water as an irrigation product.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it meets all the standards.
I don't know about swimming in it, but
well,
but definitely, I mean, places like Seattle have done this like 20 years ago, and are using it for washing cars, cleaning roads, irrigating gardens, and that sort of thing. And it's a great idea, and it's another captured opportunity for a revenue, even possibly a revenue stream.
Or we can keep processing it through the system, right?
Right.
We'll just put it back to the plant for now.
Put it back to the plan for now until we think about doing something else. So, gentlemen, would you like to move on this
No,
evening?
I have some questions.
Okay.
Been sitting here patiently. That's all right. I've learned a lot. So, couple of questions, couple of them are kind of off the wall, but so if you can add on to this system, why didn't Brattleboro keep it and add on to it?
Okay, because all guys like their garages for their pickup trucks. That's the honest truth. We have our machine in their garage bay, which is where they keep their trucks. They want to build a whole new building and an add-on for the dryer and reclaim their space. So I said, okay, guys, I get that. You know?
However, this one could have been added on to take care of their needs.
Yes, if they would. The ideal is to size it for the size, okay?
Yeah, right.
So they couldn't run 24/5 because their dewatering doesn't talk to the dryer. Your dewatering does talk to the dryer. You could ultimately run this, it runs from your cell phone. You know, you could run it 24 hours if you wanted to. Right now, you don't need to, given your size, but Hooksit's running it from their cell phone at home. 24 hours, 5 days a week. Saturday morning, they turn it off, do a little maintenance, and turn it back on Monday morning at 6.
So the other questions I had was, how many, these 1-ton sacks, how many of them would we be filling on average?
So, well, if you have 120 tons, you
Yeah.
have 120 sacks.
So that's what, like a couple a week? I guess I'm looking at frequency.
You probably have 10 a month. So 10 divided by 4.3, yeah. You can do it that way. Now, another way to do it, so flexibility here is we can also put a 30-yard box down there and you fill that, and that fills up, that'll be about 15 tons. So then you can divide 120 by 15. You can do it any way that makes sense for your community and the folks who might want to use it. During the trial, RMI would put one of our boxes down there and we'd fill that because initially we have to get it all approved and demonstrate that we're meeting all the requirements. So we've already spoken with the Vermont DEC. They said, yep, we're good to go, no problem. You know the drill, Sheila, you know what to test for, blah, blah, blah.
So that was my next question. What about product liability?
Yep. So the product liability doesn't change whether it's wet or dry. The Clean Water Act requires that the wastewater treatment plant is responsible for their material from cradle to grave. So you have a great track record. You have lots of data that demonstrates you have all the good stuff and very little of the bad stuff. And by bad stuff, I mean the heavy metals we test for, the VOCs we test for, the PFAS we test for, all this. Your little hamlet is very clean. You have a really nice product. It shouldn't go to waste.
In the warranty, I know you talked about the warranty, but how would the warranty be affected due to the fact that this unit has 400 hours on it?
So the warranty would not be affected. The warranty is for 1 year after purchase, 100% coverage. And after that time, there's an extended warranty that's available. So because I am the owner of a company that recycles biosolids all day long, if this machine were to go down for any reason, my company will take your wet keg because we do that already. So we have the ability, unlike other companies that are selling these types of machines, they're not in the business of recycling biosolids. I am. So I am your partner. I will make sure it works and we will get this going forward. That's a really different idea if you think about other companies that might come and say, hey, Rob, why don't you buy this technology or that? They kind of sell it to you and then they go away. RMI is in the business. Our goal is to make better final product. That's what we want because we know that that final product has a value and a place to be recycled locally.
And if I heard you correctly, we'd be the third municipality that would have one of these systems?
in the Northeast. So there's another.
Puxet, South Burlington, and Bellows Falls.
Nope. So South Burlington, their cake is still wet.
Oh.
Okay.
But they make a Class A product, just like you'd be making a Class A product. They'll get there. South Burlington will get to.
So we'd be the number 2.
You would be number 2 in the number 2
That's
business.
funny.
Not
That's
bad.
really funny. Yeah.
And soon to be Brattleboro at some point.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Now,
Any more questions, Wade?
My last question is back to the dollars. I'm still a little confused. I come up with like $3,000 more a month during the trial, or am I missing something?
no, you
not
got that
missing
right.
it.
You got that right.
During the trial, that is correct.
Okay, that's
Now,
approximately.
At the end of the trial, RMI would put rebate toward the purchase price.
Yep.
50% of that extra.
You mentioned the number of hours it takes to do maintenance.
Yep.
You didn't mention anything about replacement parts or
So
any kind of out of pocket.
Yep.
Like we said, Rob said he's got that all covered.
Yep.
What would be a reasonable assumption for replacement parts?
So what we provide as part of our package is 2 years worth of replacement costs for routine maintenance items, filters, parts that are just routinely going to go through a fin. There are about 480 installations around the world. They're used in different ways for different wet materials, and their life is all designed around 20 years. So they began in the late 80s, early 90s, and some of those machines are running still past 20 years. Do I know all of the costs? No, I don't. Do I have an estimation? Yes, I do, based on what the manufacturer is saying.
Yep.
I would be hesitant to stand by those numbers. What I would stand by is that there's a track record of performance. Those costs that we have are from other places in the world like Asia and Europe. I don't know what they'll be here in the United States. I'm sorry, I can't give you a specific on that. But
well, what's a ballpark? I mean, you said you do the routine filters and that type of stuff for 2 years. I mean, what are you talking about for out of pocket?
Oh, under $1,000. I mean, it's just not. It's not a high cost. And what's happened since we began down this journey is the company that manufactures these now has a rep in the United States. They're based in Arizona, so they will have American assembled and American distributed. And that's going forward within the next 2 years is their plan. In the meantime,
okay,
it's RMI, and here we are, and this is what we're doing.
Oh, good.
So.
Okay.
Any way to check out RMI's financials?
Sure.
Obviously, you'd be a key part of this. You know what our financials are like, so it would seem as though as we're discussing this, you become a critical partner here, and also the fact that we're in the number 2 business is, hopefully you've got a robust growth picture for this technology. But
so you have an annual report, right?
Huh?
You produce an annual report?
We're a private company, so
Okay.
I don't produce an annual report for any shareholders. I can tell you we're a $5 million company. I have 30 employees. I run 8 trucks. I've been in business 25 plus years. I would encourage you, if you have any doubts about RMI and who we are, call Brattleboro. Talk to Brattleboro. Call South Burlington. Call Eamon Tuig at Vermont DEC and ask him how we do with our work.
Mm-hmm.
Call just down the road, Soundview Paper. We handle 40,000 tons of their paper fiber every year.
Oh, funny, yep.
I run 20 truckloads a week out of there. I love my company. I love my work. I love biosolids. I think this is a neat opportunity. And Bellows Falls is in as I said, a unique position to partner with RMI on this, largely because of your location and your size. When we decided we needed to get a bigger unit for Brattleboro, we looked around and said, well, and I'd been talking to Rob for a couple of years at that point about what they're doing, because we had actually wanted to get his solids before they started going to landfill, but they were too far into the contract.
Okay.
Yep.
Good.
I'm sorry.
No, no, no.
No.
It looks at this point that it would, in order to make sure we're all good, that we would move this to our next meeting, which is in 2 weeks. And at which point we'll most likely take action and get the manager involved in the process. Okay?
So the only thing I'll say
Yes,
to you
please.
is that I've talked with the folks who would be involved with moving the machine, and it'll take 2 days and special permits, and that takes a lead time to get, and they won't do it once the snow flies. Now, I know that I have trick-or-treated in snow. So when we met with you back in September, we had anticipated being able to move forward after that meeting, and so I had the moving guys all lined out. We told them it's not going to happen until we meet this time, and so they're now saying, are we going or not? Because we're getting to a critical decision time for the movement, especially given they were involved with putting some of the solar panels down that hill. And so they made it really clear that that hill is not going to be something they would do late in the year. So I guess what I'd like to ask is whether you would consider going forward with a decision this evening with the expectation again that this is a pilot, that this is through July 1st.
I think we'd need a sample contract. I mean, you want to look at the terms of it.
I can't do it tonight. I want, I'll do it in 2 weeks if I get, obviously I want our new manager to get involved in this too.
Sure.
So
Yep.
I'm sorry that, granted, you're right, we have had snow, but I think it's pretty safe for the next 2 weeks that.
When's the next meeting?
Our next meeting is on the 27th of October.
Yeah.
And
so I have provided a draft agreement, which again is set up as lease to own. It's set up as a pilot trial, and it is intended to be very conservative for both parties, that we can terminate at any time if that makes you feel any better about this. We really modeled this on the notion that this equipment is going to improve your team's operation and will make a local fertilizer. And we are certainly highly motivated to work with you, but we also have to be realistic about how long it will continue to be undecided. And we need to move our machine and get on to the next thing.
well, I realize that even seeing a contract that would have to go through the manager, we're not going to sign one that would go through administration. But unless one of the trustees wants to make a motion to move forward, we can't do that until they're ready. And I don't hear anybody wanting to do that.
Okay.
I'd be very happy to get this started. Since I moved to the village, I wanted to see us do more for the future of our community, and I like this step. But I'll have to defer to the rest of my trustees until the 27th.
Sure. So what can I provide for you?
You could get management, the material that you have there. I know that Jigs, at the very least, is asking for some still financial information to be sent out so that we can look at that. Or he'll do it himself over the next 2 weeks.
It would be good to see that.
It would be good to see that. Okay, so we'd like some spreadsheet that shows what we're doing.
We really expected to have a financial analysis, and
what I thought.
we just, we just had a repeat.
Answers
So
to the questions.
So
and
anyway,
so
Okay, so
They
if you
were
can get those
provided
answers,
to
we
us
could
this
get
evening.
something in within the next 2 weeks,
Yeah.
and then we can feel confident about making a decision.
Okay.
I mean, I think we're all moving in that direction. We just need to make sure that we cross all our T's and dot our I's. I thank you very much. So you want to get with management and with Shannon, the finance director, get any information
And the
that
contract.
she would need the
The
copy of the
draft
contract, all that.
Yeah.
Okay? You know, you can go through Rob, so on and so forth.
Sounds
But
good.
Please.
I have one other quick question.
Yep.
So it takes 2 days to get the equipment here, when this all eventually happens.
Yep.
And once it's on site, how long does it take to get it installed and up and running?
2 days.
2 more days? Yep. So like in a week, time it's done.
Yeah, you can need permits and stuff before you can move.
They need the moving permit. I don't need any permits to plug in and go.
Right.
Yep.
Someone in, yes.
Question about, you were talking about future maintenance and it came with a warranty the first year, full warranty.
1 year warranty after.
So then
purchase.
after that, maybe get a price for the extended warranty. It came up in discussion, but if you could get a price to me, if it's something that would cover any catastrophic failure, maybe include that in your paperwork.
Sure.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yep.
So we know what we're doing.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Rob.
Thanks.
you. All right, we're going to move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the year-to-date, excuse me. Oh, financials, the year-to-date financials.
May I speak to that? There is a grant actually that may
Maybe
be
not.
available for the dryer. So the state of Vermont is having a hearing on October 21st at noon on water supply grants and water quality grants, and I believe this qualifies.
Really?
Okay, that'd be great.
So that's probably.
Well, right,
Yeah.
well, they're going to have that opening, but the application process would be give a date, right? Right, and we're only doing the pilot program, so that might help us apply when we get to the paying for the whole unit, right? That makes sense. Thank you so much.
Thank
Okay. Now we're moving on to the next item on the agenda, which is the year-to-date financials. I presume all the trustees had an opportunity to look at these.
So I'll just upfront, I still have the tax entry to make. We're not at 200% of our tax.
I wish we were.
I was hoping somebody had added a matching.
Yeah,
program.
that's right.
No, that
Doubled us. Okay. Anyone have any questions on the year-to-dates? I did have a couple. I didn't make sense to me, so. Okay, so I will move on. In that case, 3 of 1, that's 3 or 10. Under the general fund, it says, from Village General Fund, it says 3 of, I don't know why it says 1 on my thing, but the professional services, I noticed that that and, was that the other one? Oh, yeah. Under office operations and professional services, Village General Fund, I noticed that the amounts of actual expenditure have not been reflected in water and wastewater. Those
I'm sorry for for
IT outside support, and which is for 351070, and under professional services 36306003, the union legal negotiations and maybe even the other one, other professionals, so the attorney fees. These total dollar amounts do not appear to have been split up appropriately with water and wastewater.
okay, I'll make those entries.
So because there's either nothing in there or there. And I have one other question, which was between water and wastewater, the legal services line, which is page 10 and 14, water is 10, wastewater is page 14. Under legal services for the water fund is budgeted at $5,000, but legal services for the wastewater fund is budgeted at $2,500, and it's supposed to be equal.
Well, no, so legal services. Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's hard to remember to stick your face in front of them.
Legal services for the general fund and water and wastewater are very specific. So whatever we get an invoice for legal services it's allocated directly. So if it's police union negotiations, it goes right to the general fund. If it's, so for water and wastewater, for legal, typically we have, we get the lawyers involved in things for large contracts or if we have projects. So we base the legal fees that we anticipate for water and wastewater specifically on our budget.
So we don't split it 25, 15, and 15% like we do for other
code
things.
legal fees, exactly to water, wastewater, police, fire go into general, highway goes to itself. So whatever it specifically is.
Okay, so I guess the IT outside services was what the bigger concern.
Yeah, sure. I'll make those
that
entries.
It doesn't look right.
And
Okay,
get.
thank you. That was it for me.
Okay.
Okay.
The IT outside support, I think it's on page 2 or 3, is at 38% of the annual budget. Is
yes,
that?
I need to allocate it to the water and wastewater.
Oh, okay. All
That's
right.
what I was mentioning.
That's what you mentioned.
It's not
Okay.
split up appropriately.
All right. Then on page 4, Shannon, the cost of the fire department or the fire department building furnace and all that, the 27,000 that you put in there, is there a offsetting thing on the revenues?
No, so
Or was that last year's article?
it's last year's article. So that's the reason I actually broke it out. So so that we could track it specifically 1 and 2, but so no. So when the auditors take it into account, they just take that number out of our expenses.
So basically, if everything was the same, it would take our that 30,000 last year is already in the surplus or the fund balance, and it would just take it out of the fund balance.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. All right. And then on page 5, under the fire department, not the fire department building, I think this was under the fire department, there was a building and contents insurance charge. And it would seem as though contents ought to be covered as part of the building cost rather than the fire
The
department.
23, 26.
I don't know. I forget what the amount was. It wasn't a big amount of money. It was just like it showed
Sure, I'll look at that specific
building and contents
line
so,
and see if it was miscoded.
Okay.
Was
That's
that-
it.
That's it. Anyone else? Any questions? Oh, he needs a
Mike.
On the result of operations, Shannon, for the wastewater fund, it looks like we had an $8 million, roughly $8.1 million fund balance. So we added 435. Is that accurate? So I think that was part of an earlier discussion about where we were in terms of. So is that the right number?
I'm just pulling that up.
It's on page 2. It's hard because these are.
Yes.
2 of something. yeah.
Right. So yeah. So basically you were cash positive.
Yes, and we had significant issues with budgeting for our revenues for water and wastewater in previous years. And so we worked with a company that helped us do projections out to tell us where our rates needed to be. So since I've been here, that's what we've been working on. And then when COVID hit, we really stopped spending. And so we came in significantly under in expenses for, and we also ended up coming in over in revenue. And so that led to that number.
The item, though, that's of interest to me is the wastewater fund is in a net borrowed position intra-municipality of, at this financial statement, 876,000. So going to take a number of years of positive cash flow to work that number down.
But we've stopped contributing to it, and now we're on the other
Hopefully
side.
it's going to
Yeah.
Well, that's
Yeah.
another reason why we're concerned about this project. That's why we keep
Yeah,
asking all
yeah,
these
it is.
numbers.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
it's
it seems like
another-
it's an awesome project, but at the same
another-
time, we're concerned about how long we're going to be paying back paying down that debt.
Yep.
Anything else, folks? Well, it looks like there's nothing else on the budget. At this point, thank you, Shannon.
You're welcome.
That moves us on to the last item on the agenda, which is about Halloween. A number of businesses and citizens have asked what we're doing. I know that some communities have even altogether stopped trick-or-treating for this year because of the pandemic. Bellows Falls, on the other hand, would advocate for something of normalcy during this time. And so the Bellows Falls Village is encouraging trick-or-treating on October 31st with adherence to COVID-19 precautions. The Bellows Falls Emergency Management Director and Fire Chief Sean McGinnis have made an announcement. And Chuck, you had something in print you wanted to share screen, or what you wanted to do with that?
Share the screen. It's actually on the front page of our website, all
Okay.
the details that citizens would need to know in terms of trick-or-treating safely.
Right. This goes in combination with State of Vermont guidance and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. There are a number of very simple and rational, practical things to do, along with having a good time and keeping everyone safe. Sort of things like not handing out candy hand to hand, using packaging as opposed to that, and making sure that everyone continues to stay within your small circles of community. Take your children out, make sure you're wearing your masks. Not just your Halloween masks, but cloth masks. They're still needed, included, and create social distancing. And don't take your children to other communities to do trick-or-treating. I know some families do that in order to get a larger haul. My son's one of them. But in any case, we can still have a safe, fun holiday as long as it decides not to rain or snow. And I want to make sure that everyone looks at the website, plus the police department and the fire department will be putting it on their Facebook pages. And I will do the same to make sure we share it around as much as possible. Are there any questions about the Halloween trick-or-treating?
No, I agree with that. I think that's good.
I want to still make it fun. I'll just have to do it from a table on my walkway instead of. I'll still sit on the porch and watch the kids so I can replenish the bags as they leave. So, but hopefully everyone has a safe and fun trick-or-treat. That is a Saturday on the 31st. And again, the website plus the Facebook pages for police and fire should also have those posted for you as well. Everyone, please be safe. We move on to the agenda items for the next meeting, which is October 27th. Obviously, we have the sludge removal analysis. We are looking for that. We'll have input from the new manager and from finance as well in order for us to make a good judgment to move forward. Anything else anyone has at this point besides the normal things, police updates, that sort of thing? We'll go on there.
Well, I think I do think, and particularly now that Scott is going to start officially on Monday, I do think it's important for this board to have an open session with the police chief to hopefully communicate our expectations. I know that the agenda tonight was a good one that Mary asked for,
Mm-hmm.
but I do think this would be another opportunity. But I'd like to do it. I wanted to do it at the next meeting, but that might be too quick for Scott to get up and running
Up to speed.
here. But I would like to do that at a fairly soon to do that.
Right.
And anyway.
Well, under policing, there are two new laws signed by the governor on the 8th of October, which will have an impact on our police department, as they will with all other Vermont's police local departments, as well as state and county. And that is the use of force policy, which has been enacted, and also one concerning, what was the other one?
Yeah,
Which will, I
just
can't
read
remember.
it in the paper yesterday.
Yeah, it's not the marijuana. I'm
No.
talking about two specific police ones. One of them included the possibility of the state buying body cameras so they could, large purchases, they could get them to communities at a lower rate, or maybe even fund them 100%. I don't know how that'll work, but that'll be over the next 18 to 24 months. So there will be that. Plus starting community boards, so feedback is available for local policing, that sort of thing. Some of the things that are being already done voluntarily by other communities will become part of the state's requirement, and those will be rolled out over the next 2 years. And standards for police officers and recertification and all that is in there too. So there'll be a lot of that coming down the road, and there'll be things our police department will have to be concerned with as well. You had something for the agenda?
No, that I was, Jigsy got it. I was about the expectations that we talked about.
Mhm.
So as long as that's on the radar somewhere.
Yep. And I would still like to further talk about the encryption process, and I'd like to see it gone, but I really would like a good case for keeping it, since no one else in the region currently uses one at all. Let's see. If we don't have anything else further for the next meeting, the encryption process. A good case for keeping it. Why? I would like to hear a good case for keeping it. I haven't heard one yet. Review agenda items for the joint board meeting. That's to be determined, not till the next 5th Tuesday. So that'll be some months away. That would take us to review and order. Can't keep saying it. Review and approve orders, bills, and warrants. Just the usual. I need a motion for that.
I'll move it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any questions? Did everyone get a chance to sign the warrants here?
I haven't. I will when
Okay.
I'm done. Or you can
I'll just
slide
push
them
them over. Yeah. Well, that's close. Not quite enough.
Pretty good
Not
shot.
enough slide. Okay, so if there's anything else, are you ready to move on that?
Sure.
Okay. All right. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, we have moved on those, and he'll take care of them. Other business. Stefan.
Sure. I just want to, because again, it falls under the
Excuse me.
don't believe everything you read, only half of what you hear. Your office is going to be in the town hall, correct? Yes. Very good. Have you decided where you're going to be in the town hall?
We are hopefully working on, Chuck and I were looking at some space up on the 3rd floor.
Okay.
Working on some stuff, trying to make sure the listers
Oh.
have adequate separation.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, that's fine.
thank you, Chuck. So, yeah, so we're looking at some space on the 3rd floor, and then if we do bring somebody in as an administrative assistant, we have enough room to make sure that that person also has adequate
Sure.
COVID separations.
Very good.
That's a down the road
Great.
proposition.
All right. Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, Jiggs, do you have anything for other business?
No, welcome, Scott. We're happy to have you. And following up on Stefan's comment, I think you ought to be in the corner office where the managers have been since the year one. So
You mean on the 2nd floor?
call me traditional,
Sure.
but I think that's where you should have your office. And I don't understand why it's even being discussed. But anyway, as a Bellows Falls resident, that's where I would like to see you set up shop.
I'll second that.
It's not a motion. Jeff, did you have anything further? Wade.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Covered a lot of ground.
All right. Did you wish to say anything, Scott, before we move on?
No, I appreciate everybody's welcoming, and certainly you guys have full agendas, lots of activity. I really appreciate Shannon and Chuck have been very helpful, feeding me information, bringing me up to speed. So I know they've been wearing a lot of hats, and I know everybody appreciates their efforts, but I certainly personally appreciate, because I know how difficult that can be with all their other responsibilities to then weigh in on all these things. So they've made it very easy for me, and I really do appreciate that.
Good. Shannon and Chuck, do either of you have anything else for other business? I'm going to talk about it now. Yeah. And I'm reserving the last spot because I'm the president of the village. I forgot to mention due to Halloween, also at any other time, there are masks here available at the town hall. They are at the finance desk on the 2nd floor, or you can find them at the Bellows Falls Police Department in the lobby, according to Sean, who just told me that. With where the dispatcher is, when the lobby is open, you can access free masks if you do not have enough, or if you realized you went somewhere and you totally spaced bringing one with you. I have done that from time to time. In addition to that, I welcome Scott aboard. I'm glad that all of our efforts were successful and we have found a new manager. I'm I would also like to ask my trustees, as I would any select board member as well, to please do not deluge him with items as soon as he gets into the office. Give him some time to get the feel of the place and deal with the issues that are already at hand. I know that locating an office doesn't make any, I understand in the 20th century that made sense, but this is the 21st century. And although an office is necessary, I understand that. I also understand that we need mobility. You will never expect to find a manager in an office every second of every clocked hour in order to do their business. And so I ask kindly that you give him some space during his first few weeks here. Other than that, did anyone else in the audience have anything else? No. All right. So yes, and got a second from the chair. All right. So then we have no need of an executive session this evening. Thank God. Yeah. Amen. For once in a long time. And I would ask for a motion to adjourn. All right. It's moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And thank you, folks. Good night.